everyone. This is Annette, the warm hearted warrior diva. And today's look, Tony, look, I'm just gonna put it out there. I just want to welcome Tony Sauce, okay? The
Yeah.
Internet 360. Let's just jump straight into all the questions.
Okay, let's get it. What up?
How are you doing, sir?
Good, good. Lift it and get it. You know how we do it.
That's right. Well, with Internet 360, we just basically showcase high achieving business owners and music artists
Okay.
and with the same mindset. And so I'm so glad. Look, I just want to give you a huge shout out. Thank you so much for supporting Internet 360, sir. Um, it's really interesting coming on, online and just meeting people and becoming family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's awesome. It's awesome getting to network with people. Like before, the social media wasn't as big, but now these days, it's a big thing. Like everyone's interacting, working together, doing interviews like this. Doing the showcase like I do. So it's pretty dope.
Okay, well, I know you're grinding all the time, so it looks like we have some guests on here as well.
Let
Mr.
me
Brady
see.
Smizzy, thank you for
Smizzy, what up?
joining. We have here Jumpin' Joe the rapper. Thank you for joining.
Jumping
Um,
Joe.
okay, and we have also the live here on Instagram, so we'll see if that pops off. But
Okay.
nonetheless, we're gonna dive right into it because I see you all the time. I mean, your radio, yeah, your Tony's talk show is I love it. I love it
Thank you.
because it's just the way you integrate it. But we'll get into that.
Okay.
Um, let's okay. The first question is who is Tony Sauce?
Tony Sauce is the guy who's always lifted and gifted, just bumping music, working, grinding, doing photos, whatever I got, whatever I can do. I've been around the music scene and just social media and the online networks like my almost my whole life. Like ever since I was 17, 18. I became a photographer. Like my junior year in high school, I took a photo class and I got into photography. And then after high school, started doing photography for like music artists and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I'm a photographer first, and a music lover above all. You know what I mean? I'm a music lover. I've always listened to music my whole life and always collected it. I fell in love when you can get MP3 files. You know what I mean?
Oh wow.
That's
Uh,
Tony. That's Tony. Tony's just a guy who loves music and gets lifted. That's who I am.
Okay. And I don't want to misspeak, but I believe you're in California. Is that correct?
California, yeah, Southern California, in the IE.
Okay, okay.
I'm originally from Orange County, but I moved out to the IE when I was around like 13. So yeah, I've been here for years now.
Oh wow. I miss the California weather.
You don't want to be over here right now. It's starting to get a little warm now.
Oh well, you can take Virginia's weather. We can switch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's colder over there, right?
Well, it's not. Thank God it's not snowing anymore. But
Yeah,
I had to shovel some snow. Well, actually, my son helped me out. But yeah, it can get crazy. It
yeah, I bet
get crazy over here.
some extreme weather over there.
Right. It looks like Molly Music is
Mali
here.
Music, what up?
Yeah, thank you, sir, for joining us. Okay. Well, I know you took us back a little bit, but can you get in more depth, like detail on your, spark what first sparked it for the love of DJing and the music culture?
Okay. Well, first off, I've been around music my whole life. Not only like just collecting it and listening to it, but also involved with independent artists. My brother Diego Primo, he's always been a promoter since I can remember. He's always been promoting independent artists, CDs, mixtapes, whatever it was. And I kind of tagged along with him in that scene. He's the one that he's doing A&R, managing artists. I did that for a little while as well. Like still kind of doing it now. And started DJing. Like I said, when I first got into photography, that's how I got into the music scene, was being a photographer and a videographer and all that. Capturing back behind the scenes, concerts or whatever they're doing. this on this chat on my YouTube channel, Tony Talk Showcase 42.0. If you go back to the very first videos on that page, I have a video that has like almost a half a million, like a half a million plays. It was a
Wow.
it was a YG concert I went to, and I was filming it. I didn't do such a great job at filming back then, but it's a footage that it got a lot of attention. There's so many comments on there because it was a YG concert, and then a big old fight broke out, and that like they went crazy in there. You know what I mean? So that video got a lot of views, a lot of negative comments, a lot of crazy comments too. You know what I mean? But I've been doing behind the scenes like that ever since I was younger, ever since I was 18, 19, being doing like going to concerts or shows and filming the concert, filming the event, um, doing interviews with artists behind backstage, stuff like that.
Wow. Uh-oh.
That was
I
in
didn't
the
hear.
music scene. They were some guys named Capital A and the CA boys. There was some guy named Pat Hayes, Barney Blunt,
Hmm.
Cosmo the Spaceman. I still work with Cosmo the Spaceman right now a little bit on my platform now, and just around all those artists, I got to meet a lot of greats. I didn't get introduced to him, but I took a picture of him with a buddy of mine that knew him,
Uh-huh.
Nipsey Hussle, right?
Okay.
I took a picture of Nipsey Hussle with my buddy, so I got to see him in person. YG, DJ Quick.
Oh.
Uh, I actually have a picture, and it was a memory today from 14 years ago of me behind stage at the Key Club with DJ Quick. Me and him, I did backstage 14 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I've been around the music scene my whole life, just doing photos and videos. And it wasn't until like 2019, right? Like 2019, 2018, I found out about podcasting. Right, there was an app called Anchor at the time. It's now called Spotify.
Hmm.
It's now called Spotify for podcasters, but or creators, whatever. But I started off with that app with my buddies. Doing the podcasting.
Uh-huh.
It was just random recordings, like just messing around, drinking, smoking, just recording, talking about crazy stuff or whatever we were doing. Just that's how I got into podcasting, right?
Hmm.
Uh, and then later on, COVID hit, 2020. COVID hit, and we weren't out so much. People weren't traveling so much or going out too much because of the stuff that
Uh-huh.
was going on. And I felt, I had a lot of time to do whatever I wanted, so I started Tony Stock, which was Tony
Mhm.
Stock podcast at first, and that was like 2020. It was around the time that Kobe Bryant passed and the helicopter
Mhm.
crash. That's around that time that I announced that I was going to switch to the podcast I was doing before. I was still running shows on there even during
Mhm.
COVID, like for a little bit, all
Mhm.
by myself and whoever friends I could see.
Mhm.
And I announced on that podcast that I was going to switch the name. The name of that one was called Equinox Talk, right? The one that we were
Oh.
doing before was called Equinox Talk. Equinox, not for not for what really Equinox means, but for the car we were in recording most of the shows. You know what I mean? Like we were with my buddy, we were in the car doing shows in the Equinox. So uh, and I did that, and then I went to Tony's Talk, and I started doing interviews with just like entrepreneurs, a lot
Hmm.
of friends of mine that I knew, doing like brands or even artists, like at the early stages. One of the first interviews I ever did was with my buddy, my cousin Mikey. His
Mhm.
friend Wise OG was not go. He now goes by Regalado.
Mhm.
Um, that was one of the first interviews I did. And then Afro, all flows reach out. Afro, I don't know if you guys know him. I did a sit down with him in the early stages. Some
Hmm.
guy named Reek, a bunch of people that I'm not even like I don't even remember anymore. There's so many artists that I was interviewing at the time, and
Mhm.
the way music was integrated was pretty much through the music artists I was interviewing, and then like during the week, like I started my podcast myself recording
Uh-huh.
in my car, right? I had a Honda Accord, and I would just sit in there and play this music off my stereo and in the car, and I would play
Mhm.
like independent artists that I knew that I worked with that I had their music, and I even play mainstream like Kendrick, Snoop Dogg, like, but it wasn't the quality that I have now. You know what I mean? Like
Oh.
it was just a microphone and the background noise, my voice. You know what I mean? So I started like that, just doing the podcast like that in the car, and then I even did interviews in that car. Bringing artists
Wow.
into the car, doing interviews, and then later on it turned into what it is now. A radio station, independent artist station, a showcase. We got all kinds of stuff that we do. Like Tuesday takeovers, interviews. We do different kinds of shows. Whenever we get creative, we come up with different kinds of shows. Like we did a show called the Bounce Back Friday with Germicide.
Wow.
Mally Music as well. We just did a
Hmm.
takeover not too long ago. Me and Mally done a couple shows together, and it's pretty cool. There's a lot of artists that I work with. Shout out, I want to take this time right now. Shout out to all the artists, everyone that's been a part of Tony Talk Showcase, Tony Talk Podcast at any stage. Like from the
Wow.
beginning, the middle, now, and in the future. You know what I mean? Like, thank you guys for asking me to play you guys a song. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
like I said, I love music. I remember when I first started collecting music, it was awesome to get to hear different kinds of music that wasn't just on the radio. You got
Hmm.
MP3 files on your phone or your MP3 players back then. So I'm just a fan of listening to music, and it's awesome that I get to DJ now. I'm not even I don't
Yeah.
really consider myself I don't really consider myself a DJ. You know what I mean? Like I just play the music. I don't know how to scratch. I don't know how to mix. I don't know like
What?
I don't know what song goes with what song. Like I just play music based off my feel and my vibe, and like like whenever I think about like when I'm doing the shows, right? Like when I'm doing
Hmm.
like the Music Monday or the West Coast Wednesday, there's sometimes where I have a lineup, right? Like
Uh-huh.
I got music submitted that week or that
Hmm.
day, and I play that stuff first, or whenever I get a chance to play it. But most of the time, I just like when I do a shuffle day, like when I do a shuffle mix,
Uh-huh.
I'm just playing whatever the shuffle gives me on my phone. Like
No.
what you would consider me as a roadcaster DJ, because I have a roadcaster that I use to do my shows, and I just connect my phone to that and just play music like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow. Now I was thinking like you were gonna bring it all the way back, right?
Okay, okay, like what?
I grew up in like the whole like cassette tape era.
Okay,
So cassette tape, we had
yeah,
to
I know about
rewind.
cassette. Yeah, I know about cassette.
Not the A track, but my sister, well, my family had A track, and then we had the vinyls, right? But
Yeah, yeah,
for the most part, I grew up cassette tape, CDs, and so used to go to the gas station. Hey, you want to
yeah, yeah. It's
support me,
crazy.
please support me.
Yeah, yeah. Like even that, like I had CDs. Like I was collecting CDs. I remember my first CD I ever bought. I think was that Kanye West album, the album, the Speaker Box and Love Below, or it was the Kanye West Graduation, or the one that has the Jesus
Mhm.
Walk song on it. Right.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the first CDs I ever bought. My parents, my dad, my brother, they had cassette tapes that I listened to too. You know what I mean? Like I was born in the '90s. So
Mm.
I grew up as a kid in the '90s. I was born in the early '90s, so I was a little kid, like 5 year old, 4 year old, like 7 year old, or in the '90s,
Uh-huh.
and just listen to all kinds of different music, like back then with my parents or my brother, my friends. Like I had a friend that was a next door neighbor where I lived at,
Mhm.
and he listened to a bunch of like Linkin Park or rock or alternative and stuff like that. So always around different stuff, you know what I mean? So and then I used to play the trumpet.
What?
I used to play the
Okay.
trumpet when I was a kid. When I was in elementary school, I used to play the trumpet for like 3 years, and I was pretty good at it. I
Uh-huh.
just I still own a trumpet, but I've recently been looking for it because we put it in storage somewhere around the house. I cleaned out like two areas already, and it's not there. So I'm like, damn. But I wanted to get back into it a little bit and see how it goes.
Wow. Yeah, you should. You know what? How about this? You go ahead and play the trumpet. I bought a clarinet. I'm kind of rusty. I bought it during COVID because I'm like, hey, I did it when I was in high school,
Yeah,
band
yeah, yeah.
class. I'm like, I'll relearn it. I mean, I used to like, they say like when you haven't rode the bike You
Yeah.
have to keep pedaling and get used to it, or go roller skating, and you're like, oh my gosh, am I gonna fall? You know, you
Yeah,
have to get back used to it. So, yeah, you play the trumpet, and when you let me know when you're ready, and
yeah.
we can come on, we can do a duo. You know
Yeah,
what
yeah, I'll
I'm
let
saying?
you know. I'm gonna keep looking for it. So, well, soon enough, I'll have it again.
Okay, well, let me find out. So, were you in choir too?
I was not in choir, but I was in like the music class, right? It was like a music instruments, like
Uh huh.
there was the clarinet, the saxophone, the trumpet. I think they had drums or guitar, something like that. Yeah, it was an elementary school. I was like probably like fifth or sixth grade when I did that. Fifth and sixth grade.
Okay. I thought
Yeah,
I
that
was
was years
like,
ago. I mean,
I thought you were in the marching band or something.
no, I wasn't doing that.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't too active in high school like
Uh-huh.
activities. I did ASB a little bit, but not too much. But
Right.
I was mostly just hanging out with the friends or just playing video games.
Oh, okay. What kind of video games?
Well, I like the PC. I play PC games like Counter Strike, Days
Uh,
Defeat, Team Fortress. It's funny because I recently got a like a year ago, 2 years ago. I got a great computer,
uh-huh.
and I'm able to download my games again. But I had to get rid of them because I was running out of storage. Because the hard drive's not the huge, not the biggest, and the games they're massive. The games take a lot of storage these days.
Mm-hmm. That
But
is so true.
plus I just the way the games I play now is with my roadcaster. When I'm doing the show, playing the side of the sirens you guys hear all the time. The bum bum bum.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. There's this one part. It's in the beginning of your show. It says, "Might as well."
Minus one. Yeah.
I like that one. And then there's another one. I think it was with King Gambit. I'm
Oh
into the
yeah, yeah,
whole like, yeah, you
yeah,
know who I'm talking about, right?
yeah. I'm about to make a name for myself. Yeah.
Uh-huh, yeah. I was like, oh my God, you're bringing me back to that. So, how did you develop your signature sound, and what makes Tony Sauce stand out from the rest?
Well, I'm not sure what makes me stand out. I just be doing myself and just doing me. Just having fun with the music. I love listening to it, like I said, and it's awesome to get a lot of the music that we get is great music. And it's like
Uh-huh.
it, it's crazy because like there's a certain feeling like when I'm listening to my Spotify compared to when I'm listening to my MP3s from the artist that get submitted. Like it's like a whole different vibe. Like on
Uh-huh.
my Spotify, I feel like I'm listening to like mainstream whatever it is, and then when I go into the independent artist music that we get sent in, it's awesome. Because I relate more to that music. Like the music that the independent artists send in, because it's just like other people like ourselves that are not really like major artists yet. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
they're doing their thing, but they're not like major artists, and they're not being told what to write or what to record
Mhm.
or whatever. So they're expressing themselves the best they can, and it's a
Right.
whole different vibe. Like I always enjoy all the music that we get. Like I've been listening to my show probably more than anybody else does. Like I've been listening to my Music Monday on a Music Monday. Like even if I haven't on Music Monday, like if I haven't done one that day yet, I'll be listening to the one I did last week or the week before that on my way to work. Just listening to like I'm listening to a radio station. And I get to vibe out to the songs all over again. Like I did it during the live show, and then
Uh-huh.
like people have seen it. Like they've seen me go live on my when I'm driving to work. In the mornings. Like or in the afternoons, whatever it is. Like I'll be bumping my show. So
Mm.
it's pretty cool.
Dedication.
Yeah, yeah. My
That's
my
right.
buddy my buddy Murphy, he'd be like, "Man, you're conceited, bro. You always be listening and watching your shows." I'm like, "Nah, bro. I just love listening to the music. I can care less about myself." But I do be laughing at my jokes that I say during the show. Like when I listen back to them, I'm like, "Oh man, I laugh again." Like
No, that's a good thing because it does help with the. I think it does help you to be more pristine, and then seeing what I can add to it. Because sometimes
yeah,
I
yeah.
listen to it, I go back, and some of the some of the artists they crack me up. So I just like going back listening to it, and yeah, I think it's cool though because I caught you this morning And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
That's my first time seeing you do a drive,
yeah, yeah,
Listen
yeah.
to it.
Like, what are you doing? Like,
That's dope. Oh my gosh. It looks like Kevin Blums. Thank you, sir, for
Kevin,
joining
what up?
us.
What up,
Okay.
Joe? Let me read the chat real fast.
You got
Best
everybody.
thing going. Chill talk. Brace music. Appreciate you, homie. Jumping
Thank
Joe.
you. He's my moderator.
Yeah,
See, that's how we do it.
yeah, yeah. That's dope. Started. Yeah, started in the car, bro, in the Honda Accord. You know what I mean? Like, and then later into the Camry. But
That's
now we're
dope.
now we're in the EU. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. You know what? I think that's a great idea. I saw like when podcast started, right? The whole car show, I call it the car show, but it's not
yeah,
really a car show because you're not physically going looking at cars, but it's like a podcast car show, whatever you want to call it.
yeah, yeah. I
And
seen
I
those.
was
Yeah,
like, that's pretty cool, you know?
like a
And
studio on wheels.
yeah.
And the cars are pretty soundproof. You know what I mean? They have a pretty decent soundproof in them. You know,
Really?
like they have good, not like really soundproof, but they have a pretty secure and enclosed area. You know what I mean? Like there's nice and
Huh.
snug, keeps a lot of sound out. You know, unless you have the windows open. You know, but
That's a now you're making me think. Hmm.
and some people they don't have a spot, where they can do whatever they want or do interviews, so like they do it in their car, that's their property, that's what they own, and you can take it anywhere, like I like those podcasts that have that do it in cars or vans or like trailers or whatever. It's pretty cool because you get to pull up on the artist, pick them up. You can film like right as soon as he gets in the car, like what
Right?
up, like it's awesome. I'm down to do some stuff like that too. You know what I mean? I'll be in the future. We'll work on it, but it's awesome to see those podcasts. It's pretty dope. And
You know,
what was
okay. No, sorry, go ahead.
that? I still, like it's like I said, I started off in my car, the Honda Accord. I
Mhm.
started off in there. You know what I mean? So and then and before that was the Equinox in my buddy's car. The Equinox stock where just all the homies in the car just having a podcast.
Oh my gosh. You're giving me flashbacks. I used to watch I used to watch Night Rider, so I'm like,
Oh yeah. Uh,
I'll
have you
bring
seen,
it
have you
all the
seen,
way back.
have you seen those Spanish Night Rider memes or
Uh-uh.
videos? Oh man,
No.
you gotta watch them.
That-
They're hilarious. They're like jokes. You know what I mean? But they're voiceovers in
Mhm.
Spanish of the Knight Rider of David Hasselhoff and all that. They're
Oh
pretty
my
hilarious.
god. Yes, send it to me. I need to
Yeah,
look
I'll look
at
for
that.
it. I'll look for it when I get a chance. Yeah, I'll let you know.
I definitely when I come back to California, I don't know when, but we need to link up and do some podcasts together. I think that'll be dope.
Yeah, let me know. Yeah, we come to the studio, do a podcast. Let me know. I'm down for that.
Do a drive through.
Yeah,
Go
exactly.
to
Yeah,
the go like what do you call it, artist hopping or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Go to every city where they're at. Pick them up.
Right, right. Oh my goodness. So you've done live takeovers and music showcases, right? How do you decide which artist to spotlight?
Well, I try to keep it fair, and I do
Okay.
whoever sends in their music first. Like
Okay.
I try to play the music in order. Like whatever gets submitted first, I'm most likely to play that song first. It just depends. It varies every time, but
Hmm.
I try to play the artist that submitted their song first. First, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay. And do you like is it via email where you're like, okay, this
Well,
person? How do you
I get all the music via email, right? Or
uh-huh.
sometimes through text messages. It just
Uh-huh.
depends on the quality, but uh, most of the time it's through email, right? They email the
Mhm.
MP3 file, they make a donation.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna talk a little bit about that because for a long time, for like 4 years, I didn't ask for any donations. I didn't ask artists to pay anything for the music being submitted or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I literally played thousands of artists in those first
Wow.
4 years. You know what I mean? So um, now we do ask for a donation, $5 per song, 3 songs for $10, or
Yeah.
become a monthly supporter. Like you can be a supporter on Patreon or on Instagram. You can be a
Right.
subscriber, or I haven't. We recently started one for the yearly, right? Like we're asking for $60, and it covers you for the whole year. You can send
Okay.
music, you can send music all year round. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Like I usually play, like I said, I try to play the artist first. Any artist that gets submitted first, and then they send the MP3 files through email. And then
Mhm.
when I get the MP3 files, I download them and I use my phone. It's
Yeah.
a Samsung Galaxy. I use the app on that phone for the MP3 files to play them, right?
Mhm.
And on each of the on that app, there's like different playlists. There's one called recently added, one
Mhm.
called most played, and
Hmm.
then stuff like that. Like just playlists that the app makes for you.
Wow.
I'm mostly on the recently added, right? And then when I have a lineup, I put the songs in order on top on the recently added one,
Mhm.
and I'll play those songs first. But
Hmm.
when I do a shuffle show, I literally click shuffle, and whatever song pretty much comes on, I'll play it unless I can't play it or unless I don't remember the info for the song or anything about it. So I don't want, cause I don't want to play anything that I can't promote. You know, like I can't say the name of the
Right.
artist, can't say the name of the song. Even though I've done it before, where I played the song and I can't remember any information about it, but it's a great
Mhm.
song. No, I've done that before. You know, I try to remember the best I can. You know, when I in my years like a couple years back or a year ago, I used to make notes
Hmm.
for the shows, right? Like I would make notes and put the name of the artist, the name of the song, anything they wanted to say, like this album releasing May 10th or whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like
wow.
so, I would put notes. But since I started doing live shows, and I just started more freestyling it. You know what I mean? Like I don't really make notes. I just try to organize the files with the correct info, like have their
Uh-huh.
name, artist name, features, name of song,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I just go based off of that and just you know.
Oh wow. So like just curious on the playlist, right? Because if it's like most played, do you get like a specific artist that always like catches that most
Oh,
most played spin?
one of the most played artists is on this chat right now. Shout out to Mally Music. I appreciate you for doing that, Mally, for being a supporter. Mally gets played a lot. Not only because he's a supporter, but also because he sent me so much music that the shuffle or the most played, has many tracks. You know what I mean? Like we have some of his older tracks, we have his newer tracks, some unreleased stuff. You know,
Wow.
Mally always tries to give me the exclusive, but like there'll be some times where he surprises me. You know, like he'll put out a project with songs that I haven't heard yet. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
like or my homie Germicide too, Mike Uno, Germicide, Raw Genius, Breeze, and all them. Like they'll be sending me songs too. Sometimes they'll be surprising me, like because like we're known for getting exclusives, right? Like we get the song before it gets dropped or before it gets released or right after it's been fixed up. You know what I mean? So it
Oh
just
wow.
it just
Yeah.
varies.
He says, "My God, be having all the artists back on the showcase." Okay, that's what's up. It looks like T Lay Vision. Thank you
Chile,
for
what up,
joining.
homie? Thank you for tapping in.
Wow, that is very interesting. So, what role do you think independent radio platforms like Tony's 42.0 play like in shaping the next wave of talent?
Well, I feel like it does help out, because you get to get like not only over here on Tony's Talk Showcase or Tony's 42.0,
Huh?
but we get played on like other stations as well. Like the main one we get played on is PUSO 82.3 FM, and
Uh-huh.
they're whatever they play gets played on my station.
Uh-oh. I don't I think you're on mute, Tony. Okay. Can you hear me? Hold on. Let me see. I'll unmute you. Okay, there you go. Uh-oh. Let me see. Mic settings. There, I think I heard something. I can't hear you. No. Maybe somebody was trying to call, and then, sometimes when people call, it kicks your. What I could do is I could
Yeah,
take
yeah.
you off. Oh, there you go. There you go. You good. We're good. Say it again. Wait.
No, back. You good to go?
Okay. 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 I can
Can you
hear
hear
you
me?
now. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, okay, perfect. Hey, the same thing be happening to me all the time, so don't worry about it.
Okay. I'm sorry. What were you saying again?
I can't remember. I forgot now. I'm already lifted.
Let's see.
What was the question you had? What was the last question you asked?
Okay, so basically, right, for independent radio platforms like your Tony's 42.0, how did it shape uh the next wave of talent?
Well, like I feel like it does help out. You know what I mean? Because you get to like having a platform like myself, like it's an online radio. You know, like it gets your music heard by other people or other music lovers or other artists. You
Uh-huh.
know, and I've seen and I know that a lot of artists end up collaborating together after being heard together on Tony Stock Showcase, or
Uh-huh.
after them being coming across my platform. You know what I mean? So it help like I feel like it helps connect people and it helps showcase their music. You know,
Mhm.
it's a big thing because one of the main reasons I started doing it like that, how I do my show now, is because when I was younger, I told you I worked with a lot of artists. My brother was a promoter,
Mhm.
and I heard a lot of artists that had great music. You know, like they had amazing music, but they just didn't have no one to listen to it. You know, there wasn't back then when I first started getting into music. There wasn't that much social media. There wasn't no social media. There wasn't. You had to get on the radio only. The radio was like the only thing you can get on. You know what I mean? So it was kind of hard to get on there. You know, you had to pay or you had to get lucky or
Mm.
compete or something like that. And then now, you like I said, remember I said for the first 4 years I was just asking them to send in their music and I was showcasing a bunch of people. Now we do ask for a donation, but it still gives you the opportunity, everyone the opportunity to get their music heard on a radio or online radio or by other
Mhm.
people just by sending their music into like independent artist radios like mine, like
Right.
or Two Souls on Fire Radio, you know what I mean? Or getting interviewed right here in the No 360, like it gives them spotlight, gives people to
Mhm.
get to hear their story, hear who they are. You know what I mean? Like I also do interviews as well. So like we get to know the artist.
Mhm.
So and not too many artists get the opportunity. Because like some of the major podcasts or the major interviews are to specific artists that are doing it big or have big followings or
Mhm.
you know stuff like that. So having smaller independent platforms like mine, it
Yeah.
does give the artist a chance to do what the major artists are doing. That's get interviewed, get heard on an online radio, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you noted that because I think that with our communities, right, being independent, it does help bridge the gap to the whole media, if that
Yeah,
makes business. Because I just feel there's a lot of talent
yeah,
that independent artists bring to the table, and so that's why I started doing this podcast because I was like, we need to show people the voices of who's behind the craft, right?
yeah, yeah,
And I don't know. I personally I love the stories behind it.
yeah. Yeah. Get
That
to get
that's
to hear what created that person,
yeah,
what made that person who they are today. Yeah,
yeah. I definitely love that. Um, Going back to right quick the DJing, right?
yeah.
So you didn't do any like you had the crates of vinyls or
No, no. Like I said, I mostly collected music. Like I would collect. Like I never really got into vinyl too much when I was kind of already when I was growing up. It was mostly CDs, cassettes, and MP3 files. So I wasn't really into the vinyl too much. I never owned the vinyl myself, but I have a CD still. But um, I never really was a DJ. Like I became a DJ after starting my podcast. Like after I started my podcast, and then like I told you, like before, I would like my show at one point was all edited and it wasn't live. At
Mm,
one point, it would just be a podcast. For
okay.
like a couple of years, it was just a podcast. So I would just be on Adobe Audition, dragging the files back and forth, placing them where they're at, kind of mixing them in a little bit so they can, intertwine with the music, sound like a mix kind of. So I was getting it all edited
Uh-huh.
before, and it wasn't until like a year or two ago I hooked up with my buddy Site One, DJ Site One. Shout out to him, and like a big shout out to DJ Site One because he's the one that showed me
Mm.
that you could do it live, and he showed me the tool
Uh-huh.
that you could do it live with and how to do it. He helped me out set it up, figure it out. He taught me a bunch of things because he's a DJ.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
friend Site One, he's a DJ. He knows how to mix. he knows a lot about the science behind DJing. You know what I mean? So he taught me how to do it, how to do the live, and then now I just play music live. I be doing the sirens, whatever it is, the minus win, like just
Right. That's
little
dope
drop.
though.
You know, so
That's dope.
I don't know the science too much about like DJing. Like I've never really studied it too much, but I have an idea because I've always been around music. And I know a lot of
Right.
DJs.
Yeah, so the thing about it is, I think you're a certified DJ because of all the experiences. Because
Yeah,
think about it, and then this is like the new age or new wave of how to. People don't really use the
yeah,
vinyl.
yeah,
They use
yeah,
like a keyboard. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
the colorful. I call it the colorful keyboard.
It's like before, like they would make fun of DJs before, calling them laptop DJs. The ones that had laptops, when the laptops first started coming into the scene for DJs,
Uh-huh.
like they would call people laptop DJs. Like so that's why I said I'm a roadcaster DJ because I have a roadcaster. Like, I'm just playing it off my phone and the roadcaster. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So,
okay. Nice.
but yeah, I never really did vinyl like that. I seen like shout out to my homie Soul Addict, aka Rubik's.
Okay.
He was a DJ. He did vinyl and all that stuff. My homie Site One, he does vinyl and all that too.
Yeah, when I saw Solatic, I was like, okay. Well, hopefully, if he's listening, I mean, or whoever wants to come on the show, check
Be
my
sure to tap
sort of
in with her,
yeah.
guys. Tap in with her. Get on
Tony
the
has my
show.
info. Look, Tony has my info. Well, moving along to the Tony the photography. See, I just made just
Yeah,
made
yeah,
another
yeah.
name up for you.
Okay.
You're not just behind like the DJ or I'm gonna say DJ. Okay, let's just
Yeah.
call it the way it is. When you're not behind that, you're behind the lens, right?
Behind the lens, yeah, and then
And
also I also help my dad do a construction business too. So yeah, I've been doing that.
what?
So yeah,
Okay,
I be DJing photos, stuff like that. That's what I be doing. This DJ photo and construction. That's it.
oh wow. Okay, Mally Music, I got you. I got you. Um, so for construction, what do you do?
Roofing,
What? Okay.
roofing. Yeah.
That's yeah, that's a lot of work. It's a high risk.
Oh
How
yeah,
long
yeah.
how long you been
That's
doing
okay.
that?
Oh, I've been doing that since I was a teenager. That's my dad's business. He's a roofer, so
Wow.
been doing that. But I've been doing the photography just as long. Like the photography is. So I started it first before the DJ, before the construction. Like I was doing photography for, like I said, like for independent artists. Even I did, do weddings, quinceañeras,
Uh-huh.
family portraits, anything photography needs. What's it called? Architecture. Like, or what do they call it? Real estate too. I do that too. All that. So
Oh wow.
I've been doing that photography. The business got a little slow for a while, but it's picking up. We have a Mother's Day shoot coming up soon this weekend. So like I said, I told you earlier, I was gonna be doing a photo shoot tomorrow at 10 a.m. So that
Right, right. Yeah, I saw the website. I was like, okay, check him out. So how does the photography, right, feed into your creative expression? Because you're really good at this.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, the photography I use it, like to do my shows is what I use my camera for now because my camera I use it mainly. The majority of the time is using it for my podcast. Because I have a professional, mirrorless camera that I use to record my shows. With, and
Hmm.
then also, it helps out with events. Like when I get invited to an event or whenever I have an event, I cover it with my camera. Take pictures, interviews, videos of the artists performing. So it kind of goes hand in hand with what I do. Like the showcasing independent artists. Because if you see my product, you see my Instagram, I've been promoting music videos, artist events, stuff like that.
Hmm.
I try to you know be a platform where you can interact with all types of music. You know what I mean? And the photography goes in hand because sometimes I need to take pictures of the artist or make
Uh-huh.
a take a picture of something and make an album cover or whatever it is, or just get behind the scenes footage.
Okay. I definitely need to get with you. I have a camera, but I'm still trying to learn that. I have
Let
different
me know.
different tools, different
I'm actually.
tools.
It's funny because I never. consider myself like to do that, but one time my buddy
Mm-hmm.
he gave my number to somebody. Like, hey, these guys are gonna call you. They need help with their photo booth. And I
Ah.
was like, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know too much, but they're like, hey, they just need help with the camera. I was like, oh, I'll do my best. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I ended up helping them out. They have those photo booths that are like a big tablets.
Uh-huh.
They have a camera that you actually put an actual camera on the top, and then the
Wow.
bottom is like a big old tablet where you can just like, select the menus and all that.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's what I went to go help them with was figuring out how to set up their camera because
Okay.
the pictures were coming out too bright or too dark.
Oh,
So and I didn't know too much about it, but I figured it out. But then when I left, I figured it out even more because when I was there, I got it to work. Right,
mm-hmm.
I got the camera to work and to take good pictures.
Mm-hmm.
But you had to adjust the settings every time on the tablet. So that
Oh.
was the only way I could figure out how to do it until I left. I was driving, I was like, 'cause I remember seeing the top of the camera, and I remember seeing that it was on manual. I'm like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I called him. I'm like, do you need to have the camera on manual or can you put it on auto? And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, let me check. And he read the instructions. He said, it could be auto. I'm like, you do that, and your pictures will come out good every time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they just gonna figure it out. But I helped out with that, so that's kind of like, what you said. Like helping people out with it. Get, like, your camera or whatever it is.
Yeah. So sounds like we're both problem solvers.
We try to figure it out.
That's true. Oh my gosh, that's good. So, what moments or stories do you aim to capture when you do your photography?
Well, I try to capture, most of it depends on what it is. Like if it's
Okay.
a wedding, I'll do like the standard, upfront pictures. But I also like to do candid, like I try to catch them in the moment when they're dancing or cutting the cake or stuff like that. Little moments, try to capture any little moment. I also do a lot of photography of like objects. Like one of the biggest things I like to do is macro photography, which is close-ups of things, like flowers, bugs, spray cans, whatever. Like anything that has any little thing. Like I can take pictures of close-up pictures of things, like objects. Like one of the things I photograph the most is flowers.
Ah.
Like I would always take pictures of all the flowers I've seen, especially during this time. Like spring. Oh,
Oh, yeah. You know what's funny? I was taking pictures of the rose bush.
the rosebud. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those are
Yeah.
beautiful.
I was like, that's funny because I do like taking pictures of nature. I'm just testing stuff out.
That's dope
But
though. That
the
this kid, I keep experimenting. That's how I got into it, right? Like, uh, my junior year, I took a photography class, right? But I wasn't into it really yet. Like, I just learned it, right? I just learned how to do it,
uh-huh.
and it wasn't until my senior year I decided, you know what, I'm gonna buy a camera for memories to take pictures of people, of the friends at school or whatever we were doing for memories. So I bought a little camera, a little Canon, little power shot Canon, little small one, little small pointed ones, point and
Uh-huh.
shoot ones. And when I was at home, when got home from school, I would do my homework. Most of the time I had my homework done before I got home. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like I was like a good student. Like I would have it done all the time. So when I got home, I had a lot of free time to play video games to do whatever. You know, so um, so when I had the camera, I would just start messing around with the features, the settings, and that camera has some pretty cool effects. You can make it
Ah,
where you can do a color accent, or like you select a certain color, and only that color will pop up in the image, and everything
ah,
else will be black and white. You know what I mean? So I used to do pictures like that, and I started doing close ups. Like I have a picture right here somewhere. Let me see. Well, I have this one. Let me see if you can see it. The spray can. That's one.
oh,
Of the,
wow.
that's with that
Oh,
camera too. And then I have the shoe over there. So excuse all the wiring, but right there you got the Converse. I took that picture.
wow.
So if you can see it, I don't know if you
You
guys.
need to look, you need to go ahead and put that go talk to Target, like
Yeah, yeah,
Amazon.
yeah.
I mean, for real. Seriously, those are
So I
nice.
appreciate it. Thank you.
The
But,
Home Goods store, Home by whatever, the home store.
yeah,
All these different stores.
yeah, I get you. Yeah, hang them up. I,
For
I,
real, I'm
I actually,
serious.
I actually went to a couple art galleries and I set up my frames and I sold
Yeah.
some. I think I sold like one or two only, right? When I'm at the art
Uh-huh.
gallery.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the one I sold was the one I thought was going to be the least liked because I didn't really know the environment of the art gallery.
Uh-huh.
But I had this picture of a cannabis leaf.
Uh-huh.
It had like an effect on it that I put. It was like a mirror. So it was like a kind of like a. I don't have a picture on here somewhere, but it was a kind of like a double effect of a marijuana leaf, right?
Uh-huh.
And I liked it a lot, but I thought that one was gonna sell, and that's the first one and the only one that sold at that gallery.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny.
So do you do like the dark room, that whole
Oh, I in my photography class, right? We did that.
uh-huh.
And I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of was afraid to do the tent thing, where I couldn't see what I was doing. Like in the tent, to put the film in the little tray that you need to put it in to develop it.
Right. Uh-huh.
I never learned how to do that because we were working in the class I was in, where it was a group. You had a group that you work with, right? Like your
Mhm.
classmates. You guys were each all a table, like, and you guys would have to turn in your work together or your
Right.
projects together. So I would have my friend Andrew do all that dark room stuff. You know what I mean? I never really got into it, but I have an idea of how to do it, but I never really learned it and perfected it myself. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Looks like Jumpin' Joe the rapper said finna make a name for myself. You know how long I've been waiting for
Let me
this.
see. Let me see what you guys can
Don't get
hear.
me started. I got my jokes inside too.
Minus Will.
Might as well.
You know how we do it. That's funny.
Oh my gosh, that is lit. Thanks, Jumpin' Joe the rapper. Wow.
Joe, appreciate you.
That's
Also,
why.
yeah, big shout out to Jumpin' Joe as well. Because Jumpin' Joe helps me out with a lot of things for music as well. Like when I have questions or need to know a little bit of something about the business side of music or
Uh-huh.
stuff like that. Jumpin' Joe always shows love and supports me and gives me some advice. You know what I mean? Shout out to him, man.
Wow.
And Jumpin' Joe and Mally, they always been showing love. For since the beginning stages of
Wow.
the podcast. Mally Music and Jumpin' Joe always showing love. Shout out to Mike Uno. There's so many people to name, Just shout out to everyone, Shout out to all the artists, all the homies. You guys know who you guys are. You know what I mean?
Right, right. And one thing I have to note, Tony Sauce, is that your show is so like it's fun. You know what I mean? Like it's so energetic. That's why I like watching it.
Well,
See all
hey,
the
when you mix music, Tony, and music, Tony, and some lifted and gifted vibes, it's gonna be a good time. You know what I mean?
that's
Unless I'm too lifted, I'm just silent right there, sitting down. I'm like,
it's that secret sauce that you put in.
yeah, you know how we do it. That's funny.
No, that's right. Look, so are there any of your favorite, like, photo shoots or collaborations that really stuck with you?
I said a little bit earlier. I got to take a picture of Nipsey Hussle.
Okay.
YG. Those are some memorables. With Tyga, I even take a picture of Tyga at the
Ah,
show. Uh,
what?
and just doing like for a few years, I was going to a studio in Anaheim named it was for Full Volume Records, right? Full Volume Records, TDC. Shout out to them.
Mhm.
Shout out to Legendary. Shout out to Tony. Shout out to Rob Law. Legend Man. Um, everyone over there, Guap. Everyone. Shout out to them. That I was doing a lot of photo shoots for them. We always go to the studio and just have a networking time. Have get the camera out, do some footage. Do some pictures. So those were fun times of me taking pictures. I got to travel with those guys, all those guys from Full Volume, with them all throughout California, right? Because they went on a tour one time,
Right.
and I got to travel with them and get behind. Man, I had a whole movie
What?
of the whole trip, and it was up on their YouTube. But I don't
Mm,
have I don't have any of that footage because I delivered it to them. But I
mm,
had like a whole movie at one time of me traveling California. We were in Oakland, we were in Sacramento, we were in San Francisco, a lot
wow.
of Orange County, up a bunch of places around here in California. And I had like a whole video that was like a movie of everything that was going on. Like funny stuff,
Mm,
performances. So that's one thing that stuck with me. And also another one was for a while I did um like a media company with my buddy Soul Addict, which is AKA Rubik's. I did
right.
a media company with him called Self Top Productions, and we got a lot of
Mm,
content as well on our YouTube. It's still up, I
mhm.
believe. and that's a lot of stuff that I remember. Like we did the Viejitos OC. I forgot what annual car show it was, but we did one of their car shows where we did like a little MTV style like
Oh,
video. So those were some memorable ones for me. You know what I mean?
okay. Looks like Brace Busy says stay lifted and gifted.
Hey, you
Hey
know how we do it.
Capone. Capone, thanks for joining us. And then he says it's a bike show happening in California. So that means I had to fly to California for the bike show. Come on.
Let me
Y'all
know.
need to come over to the west, I mean, the East Coast because we have a Myrtle Beach bike week.
No,
You know,
no, no.
it always happens on Memorial Weekend. I don't
Yeah,
think I'm
that's
going
right.
this year, but
Memorial Day coming up already.
I know, right? So talking about lifted and gifted, right?
Yeah.
What's the story behind the name and the mission? Because I know you have some products out. Look, I did my research. so,
The
so how did that start?
lift it and get it. Well,
Uh-huh.
it's, when I was younger, I would say it. I used to say that, all the time, and then I kind of fell away from it for a while until I started doing the podcast again, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I have some lyrics that I wrote, and that's one of the things that I said on that, and those lyrics was lifted and gifted. I can't remember. Oh, let me see. I can't remember how it goes exactly right now, but there's a lyric, and I wrote that in my notebook, and I had it in my
Uh-huh.
notebook ever since I was like 18. So I kind of just started going with that, and then when I started doing the show and getting more interactive with people, or doing the online stuff, I started making that as my slogan. That's what my slogan says. You know how we do it, staying lifted and gifted.
Uh-huh.
So it's just something I always said. Just something that I always said, lifted and gifted, because me, I always get lifted and gifted. I like to smoke cannabis. You know what I mean? Some wax. Get a little lifted.
What's your favorite?
Blue Dream is my favorite strain. Blue Dream is
Blue
my favorite
Dream.
strain.
Okay. I'm not really educated, but I like this
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Hey, thank you
watching you guys.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, out here in California, it's legal, and
Yeah, yeah.
everyone smokes. You can smell it everywhere.
It's part of the culture there.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
looks like Jumpin' Joe the rapper says Tony's low key a tech expert. I believe that. I believe that for
Hey, I
sure.
grew up. I grew up around technology when it was first coming out. Like when it was like all the electronics that were coming out. Like I kind
Uh-huh.
of grew up with it. And I was kind of familiar with them. There's so many things now these days, though. Like there's so much technology. It's crazy. Like,
Mm,
and that's one of when I'm in a Best Buy or like a Walmart or like on
uh-huh.
Amazon. I'm like in a toy store. Like I just freaking
Mm.
love to see all the gadgets.
Right?
It's really
So
dope.
soon I think it's out, but like the prototype for Black Panther, when they're in there and they're just pointed into the air. It's just whatever, like little keyboard. You can't see this invisible keyboard.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like how the heck technology is too crazy now. You know what I mean? It's like
Oh my
it's
gosh.
almost like it almost looks unreal.
I know. So how do you balance, right? Being like a creative visionary with running a shop. I mean, all the platforms you
Well,
you had,
it,
like the construction,
it
like
just it
all
just
this
varies.
stuff.
It just varies. You know what I mean? Like I try to do a balance. There'll be some times though where I take some time off from the podcast, or miss a couple. Like I try to do Monday through Wednesday, but there'll be some times like this week we only did a West Coast Wednesday so far.
Uh-huh.
Plus this interview right here with you, and tomorrow we'll be having a show, as well on Saturday. I think I'm gonna do a show. So I just try to do the shows every time I get a chance, because
Oh.
to be honest with you, like I have a lot of time that I can just hang out and do whatever I want, because I don't really have a family to raise or take care of. I'm a single man. I just live alone. So I just have a lot of time to take invest into creating stuff. Doing podcasts, doing photo shoots. Working with my dad. Working in the roofing. I'm not gonna lie. I'll be lazy sometimes. You know what I mean? I'll be lazy. Like I have involved with a lot of things, but there'll be some time where I take some time off. You know what I mean? Like I'll be
Uh-huh.
just be lounging it. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I just try to be as be as productive as possible when I can.
Hmm.
Like whenever I get that spark, like I'll just create something right now. Let's just go live.
I love it. Oh, sometimes you need that break to like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
get your body adjusted, or your body will tell you to sit down somewhere. Trust me, I've had those nights.
yeah. I feel you. It
You-
happens.
like you're doing too much.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
looks like Mally Music says showcase represents. Okay.
I appreciate you, Mally. Let's get it on and lit.
And Bray says Tony makes his show more organic. I like that.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Smithy. Let's get it.
I
Yeah, be on
agree,
the.
Bray
Hey,
Smizzy.
maybe we'll do a show tonight. We'll see. One late night show or something. Let's go.
There you go. So, what advice would you give to young creatives, trying to build their own brands? I mean, you're just a multifaceted guy, so
Well, the one thing I can say is don't be afraid to do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like if you wanna become a baker, you wanna become a music producer, you wanna become a
Mhm.
podcaster, go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? Like like nothing can stop you from doing what you want. You know what I mean? Like if you really want to do it, and don't get too caught up in the likes, the views, the
Yeah,
comments. Don't get really caught up in like if you're not getting any or if you got a lot. Don't let it go to your head. Like just be yourself and have fun with it. You know what I mean? Like when I first started, I didn't have no views. Like for the
right.
first year, 2 years, my shows would get one play, two plays. The podcast
True.
would. You know what I mean? Like, and I kept going. I all I can say is just keep going and do what you love. You know what I mean? Just keep going and do what you love, and then of course stay lifted and gifted.
Yeah. No, that's so true. Like, I definitely can agree. At first, it was honestly, I did the show just for therapy.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, talking to people is my therapy. And so, it's like 25 people subscribe. It was
yeah,
just
yeah,
topic discussion, but it leads and morphs into things that you never imagined.
yeah. It's awesome. The journey that I've been on since I started doing this platform has been amazing. It not only transformed me in my creative or career wise, but it also transformed me as a human. You know what I mean? Like it also made me
Mhm.
more spiritual. It made me, be a little bit more social. Stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's awesome. Like when you're doing something you love or doing something
Yeah.
that you love to create. One of the key things is to create. Always try to
Mhm.
create something, even if it's a drawing or it's a podcast. Take a picture of something, or just draw a doodle. Just being creative is part of human nature. It helps you feel better. It's like therapy, like you said.
Mhm.
Like you do the show for your therapy, and that's one thing I've been realizing lately. Because when I go days without doing my show, I
Yeah.
feel a little different compared to when I'm doing my shows. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I feel more active and more happier when I'm actually like I just did a podcast or I'm in the middle of a podcast. You know what I mean? Like, or a show or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like it makes me
Mhm.
feel better. And then like, going on there with the people
Yeah.
like Mally Music, Jumping Joe, E6, everyone like when they're on the live, Mo, shout out to Mo and Lily Letty. Like when they're on the live interacting with me, it's awesome. Like it gets me
Yeah.
more pumped up. You guys always hear me like, West Coast Wednesday. Hey, I'll be like, let's have fun with it. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
awesome.
I love it. Looks like Brace Busy says Trill Talk. Okay.
Let's get
All
it.
all day,
Lucy,
man.
my sister Lucy's in here. Lou,
Jumping Joe, the rapper, all day, man.
all day.
Uh,
Let's get it.
Lucy. Oh, hey, Lucy.
Thank you, Lou.
Wow. That is so cool. But yeah, between the podcast and the gym, because the gym, like working out for me, it helps get me going
Yeah, yeah, get you
for the
moving.
day.
Yeah.
So you build your platforms, right, that shine light on the underground talent. Uh, again, I know that you kind of like told me a little bit about why it's important to you, but what else can you say about that from starting your podcast to now?
Well, yeah, like I said, it's awesome because n- to see the growth in it. There'll be
Yeah.
times where I go back and listen to my first episode ever, and I'm
Mhm.
like, damn, like to see where it's at now, like compared to how I started and the quality of it, the
Yeah.
what it is. It's awesome. Like it's awesome to see that. What I mean? It shows you, shows myself like what you can do if you put effort and time into something. Like
Mhm.
It's just, it shows like it's awesome to be. I love doing the podcast. Like I said, I love listening to music. And I love showcasing it. And now after doing it for 5 years, going on 6 years, it's just a part of me now. It's like a routine. Like literally all day
Mm.
long, I'm interacting with people on Instagram, TikTok, text messages, calls, like for the platform, for the radio, or sometimes not even for the radio because I become friends or homies with the people that I interact with on my platform. Like shout out to Mike Uno. Mike Uno's a big homie. Mike Uno is one of the first artists that helped me expand the platform to what it is now.
Oh
And
wow.
it's Mally Music as well, always being a part of the podcast, the platform Jump and Joe. And shout out to Smizzy. Smizzy, I recently
Mhm.
got connected with Smizzy, but he shows a lot of love to the platform, like that. So it's also like Smizzy said it one time too, like the chats that we have on the
Yeah.
DMs with this guy, like with each other, it's like on a whole different level. You know what I mean? Like it's like you get to know somebody as a person, you get to know their
Yeah.
thoughts on something, their opinion on something, and especially
Yeah.
when it's all good vibes, it's the best. Of course, there's those times where you have those people trying to ruffle you up or trying to
Yeah.
make you do something, but I try to stay away from that as much as possible.
That's
You know what I
true.
mean? Like I've been there, but just to have a good time with it. You know what I mean? I love the platform and I love what I'm doing, and I'm gonna keep going until I can't no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Well, when I first met you, I'm trying to remember how I ran into you. I think it was probably Black Dynasty NT, or it was somebody. And then I just like tapped into you. Do you
You heard
remember
about Tony? Yeah.
how do you remember how you met me? I'm trying.
I don't remember too well, but I know I've been following you for a little bit now. Yeah, so I don't remember how we got connected, but shout out to whoever connected us. Whoever's.
I
You
know. Shout out to them. I feel like you're one of my brothers now,
know.
for sure. So, um, do you have like a dream collaboration with anybody? Well, in an 360, but somebody else. No, I'm just kidding.
hey, hey, I'm gonna be honest with you. Besides doing a interview or a podcast with Breeze before, shout out to Breeze,
Okay.
the Breeze podcast, Phil the Breeze podcast. He's one of the first platforms I was ever a part of, right? And then
Uh-huh.
you're pretty much one of the first interviews I've done. You know,
Oh,
so thank you for that. You know what I mean? Shout out to you.
thank you. Wow. Is there anybody that else that
Oh, you know
you
what?
would?
Like I'm down to work with whoever's want to work with me. Like for a while, I was reaching out to a lot of people, trying to get people on the show. You know what I mean, or work with them. But now I just kind of go with the flow. Like whoever I interact with, whoever I ended up linking up with, that's what we'll do. You know what I mean? Like during collaboration, of course, I would like to, interview the greats or any
Yeah.
major artist, anybody, some of my favorite artists. I would love to interview them or play their music on my platform. That's some of the dream things I can do. And
Hmm.
I've reached out to a few major artists that I wanted to get their music showcased, but I didn't hear anything back from a lot of them. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
did play one major artist that I knew growing up. A few of them already actually. Like I played Glasses Malone. I played Conejo. I
Okay.
played Larry June. I got someone submitted a song with Larry June.
All
No,
right.
I got to play some of those songs, and then so many artists. There's so many artists that we get to showcase. You know what I mean? Like just dream collaboration, just anybody that's down to work with me. You know what I mean? Just what I don't know it yet. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. So, what can listeners expect from you? Are there any like exclusive stuff that's coming up?
Well, we're supposed to do a show soon. I'm gonna be doing an event soon. Hopefully, I want to do it this year, but we're not too sure yet. But I want
Okay.
to do an event, right? I want to do an event to get some artists come out, perform, network, have some vendors, whatever it is. I want to do an event. That's something I want to do. Um, haven't really been linking up with too many people right now to get some behind the scenes, but definitely we got some interviews coming. We got some Tuesday takeovers coming, some more
Okay.
shows. Um, you know, my I'm also supposed to do a show with some band, right? They want me to be a part of the podcast they're gonna do, so I'm gonna be working on that sometime soon, hopefully.
A band. Wow, that sounds very interesting.
I'm gonna keep it under a little. Not I'm not gonna say the name of the band right now because we
Okay.
don't want to announce it yet. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. No problem. But can you like you know? But can you say is it like a a jazz or rock?
I'm just gonna say one word. I was just gonna say one word. Tribal. That's
Ooh.
it. That's all I'm gonna say. If
Okay. Okay.
for those
That
who know, they know. You know.
that's fair. That's fair. But don't worry, I'll get the exclusive after the show. I'm sorry, I can't tell you what it's gonna be.
All right.
It says here, oh, but Bryce Smithy says, right, me and Tony shall talk like we grew up with each other. Real man activity, chill time.
Chill talk. Appreciate you, Smithy.
Okay. I love it. And so, what's one song that never leaves your playlist?
Well, like I said earlier, Maddie tracks. There's a lot of Maddie tracks that
Okay.
always get played.
Uh-huh.
Maddie, and then one song I think I've realized that I played the most in the last couple of years, ever since I got it,
Uh-huh.
was a song by the homie Germicide, which is called "Weed Smoke." And that song really, the first time we ever played it, we ran it back twice. Me and my brother, when we were doing the show, we played it back twice, and then I also, played it all the time on the show. That's one song. Mike Uno always gets played. Brace Mizzy, we played Chill Talk and Goddess and Championship. We played it a few times. A few times already. This is a lot of songs. Like one of my favorite songs. Let me see. I have my Spotify right here somewhere. Let me see.
Mm.
One of the main songs I listen to. I'll see what the Spotify playlist says. This is one of the songs I listen to the most right now. That's on repeat. Where's it at? All right, it's by the Bull and Holy Brune.
Mm.
It's called DX7 in the Studio 10. That's the name of the song, right? It's
Okay.
by the Bull. The Bull is they're like a funk artist, like funk music.
Ah.
I always be listening to funk. Another artist is Cali Uchis and Steve Lacy with a song called Just a Stranger. One of my most recent favorites right now is by Leon Thomas called Mutt. And
Ah.
those are like mainstream artists, right? And let's go over here. Let me get my other phone real fast. Let's go over here to the most played on the independent artists that we play. If the phone's charged, let me see. All right, it is. All right, give me a second. But I,
Okay.
you know, I appreciate everyone tapped in. Let's get it.
Yeah. I'm making him work, guys.
Let's get it. Thank you.
I
Hey, this is
love it. I love it.
most played. Uh one of the most played right now is the new song by The West. The
Oh.
West is it's called "I Just Want to Smoke," and that's like my theme song right now.
Mm. Speaking about smoke, what keeps you lifted and gifted on tough days?
Hey, I always be smoking that White Angel. White Angel is one of my sponsors, and
Mhm.
uh, I always be smoking on their wax, their cannabis. Right now, I got some SFVOG cannabis, the flower, and then I got some what runs dabs, the runs wax. Right now, just getting lifted with that right now. That's I,
Mhm.
I I have I have enough to last me a while, so that's what I be getting lifted on all the time now.
Oh, that's so dope. So, do you have any advice for or anything that you want to say and to the audience, and also shout outs?
Like first off, thank you to you, Annette, for having me on this interview right here. Thank you very much. Shout out to all the artists that get their music showcase. Everyone that networks with me. Shout out to Mally Music. Shout out to Jumpin' Joe. Shout out to Brace Smizzy. Everyone that tapped in right here to the live. T Lay. Let me see if I can see who was on here. Shout out to everyone. Mally Music, Jumpin' Joe, Brace Smizzy, and T Lay. I appreciate you guys. And shout out to everyone. Mike Uno, my brother Primo, Soul Addict. Um, so many people to name, but just shout out to all the artists and everyone that works with me and interacts with me. Thank you very much, and just keep going. Stay lifted and gifted out there. Keep sending in that music, and we'll keep going. Let's get it. Be on the lookout for our show this week.
Okay. Okay. Well, I want to give a shout out to you too.
Thank you.
Tony's Talk showcase, um, Warriors Talk, Black Dynasty ENT, Driven Paper Next Level, Beats by Your Boy, Crush Eyes ENT, and part of that now partnership, WKYJ Radio Live, Kings PR, King TV, and We Outside. And let's please continue to support the Unity for Social Justice. And let's free Monster Yo and all our brothers and sisters that are in need of our support. This has been a broadcast of showing love full circle between NNO 360 and Tony Sauce. Hello, tap in.
Let's get it. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a wonderful evening. I'll be tapping in after this.
Okay, I appreciate you. Nate. Have a great night.
All
Appreciate
right.
one top thing. You say lit it and get it.
Salute.